Welcome back to the deep dive. So let's forget the blurry photos for a minute, the fringe theories. Today, we're taking what is probably the most consequential global secret imaginable, and we're just skipping ahead. We're diving into the sources that analyze what happens after disclosure, AD, the moment governments finally formally admit there's an extraterrestrial presence engaging with humanity.
That's right. The source material we're looking at, it just treats this as an inevitable event. A chaotic one for sure, but inevitable. An event that completely rewrites everything we think we know. Physics, history, religion, all of it. So our mission today is to get past the science fiction. We're looking for the granular details, the actual logistics, the financial machinery, the political fallout, what really cracks and what reforms when this truth finally comes out.
Okay, so before we get to day one, we have to talk about this central contradiction, right? The thing that's allowed the denial to go on for so long. The sources call it the disclosure paradox. They say that telling the truth is simultaneously impossible
Right.
and inevitable. How can both of those things be true?
It's a fascinating tension, and it's all rooted in this deep, deep institutional fear. It's impossible because the power structure, the secret keepers, they have zero incentive to give up that kind of control. Control over technology, over information that is just so transformative. They've built empires on this secrecy.
And this fear wasn't just paranoia. The sources point to historical studies for why they felt keeping the secret was, well, essential.
Exactly. They keep coming back to the 1960 Brookings Institute study. It basically warned policymakers that if a society suddenly meets a radically unfamiliar and superior culture, its own social fabric could just disintegrate. So the people keeping the secret, they genuinely believe they were protecting the world order, even if it meant telling a lie on an unbelievable scale.
But then you have the other side of the paradox, the irresistible force, the inevitability. The secret can't be kept forever.
It just can't. The truth is too big. There are too many people who know something, and the physical evidence just keeps piling up. Eventually you get a leak, a mass sighting, a political shift. Something will force their hand.
Yeah.
And, just to clarify for you listening, when we say disclosure with a capital D, we're talking about the whole process. The government acknowledgement, managing the fallout, not just, revealing a single piece of evidence.
All right, let's leave the paradox there and jump straight into it. The moment everything changes, day one. The sources lay out a very specific, planned scenario for the announcement, and the timing tells you everything about what the government is truly afraid of. They say the U.S. president will make the announcement on a Friday, specifically between 4 p.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern. Why so specific? Why late on a Friday?
It's 100% about stopping an immediate, uncontrollable financial panic. They're absolutely learning from history here. If the news drops late on a Friday, the stock market's closed. The banks are closed.
So nobody can just rush to pull out all their money or dump their entire 401k.
Exactly. It gives everyone the entire weekend, 48 crucial hours to process it, to talk to their families, to hopefully calm down before they can try to cause a run on the banks on Monday morning. It's pure damage control, just like FDR's bank holiday or when they shut the markets down after 9/11.
Yeah.
They're bracing for a financial event, not just a news story.
And what does the president actually say? What are the words?
The wording is very carefully chosen. It has to be undeniable but also stabilizing. The president steps up to the podium and says there is persuasive evidence that the Earth has been and is currently being interacted with by one or more intelligent non-human species. And with that one sentence, humanity's entire self-perception changes forever.
Wow. And that's when the real operational shift kicks in. Within 24 hours, the world is reeling and security goes critical. What's that mean for the military?
The shock is just profound. The military response is instant, and it's defensive. The U.S. command structure immediately goes to DEFCON 2, which, for anyone listening, that's the step right before imminent nuclear war. Forces are ready to deploy in 6 hours. It's a worldwide alert, because the first question on everyone's mind is, are they hostile? At the same time, the White House creates a brand new body, something like the Office of Contact Affairs, to handle this new reality.
And the chaos just multiplies with all the questions that nobody can answer. The sources put them into 5 big categories.
Yes, and they're immediate, and at first, they're completely unanswerable. First, about the intelligent non-humans themselves. Who are they? How long? Second, technology. What makes them go? Can we build it? Third, intentions. Are they here to watch, to help, to harm? Fourth is secrecy. Why lie for all these decades, and who lied? And then fifth, managing future disclosure. How do we know we're getting the truth from now on? So that first announcement, it's really just the starting gun for a marathon of total uncertainty.
Right. And as soon as disclosure happens, that secrecy itself becomes the story. We're forced to look at how the cover-up was even possible. Our sources trace it all the way back to 1947, to Roswell.
They do. And President Truman's initial decision to classify everything, it wasn't really driven by fear of the others. It was a geopolitical move. I mean, this was right after the war. The U.S. wouldn't even share atomic tech with its closest allies, let alone the Soviets. So the idea of revealing some radically superior physics-bending technology to the entire world, it was just unimaginable. Secrecy was born from not wanting to give up a strategic advantage.
And that decision leads to this thing the sources call the breakaway group, a sort of quasi-public, quasi-private entity that operates outside of any real democratic control, the successor to things like Majestic 12. That sounds incredibly expensive. How do you fund something like that for decades?
You fund it through the black budget, the deepest, darkest part of government spending. And the scale is just staggering. To hide a multi-generational operation like this, you need a financial engine that can just swallow billions, maybe trillions, without anyone noticing.
And the sources point to maybe the most shocking public admission of a fiscal black hole ever.
It's incredible. We're talking about Donald Rumsfeld. In 2001, right before 9/11, he openly admitted the Pentagon could not account for $2.6 trillion in transactions.
Trillion, with a T.
With a T. I mean, that's bigger than the GDP of most countries. That massive undocumented pool of money is where the funding for these black programs almost certainly came from.
And the real genius of the system, if you're trying to keep a secret this big, is moving it away from government oversight. It wasn't just classified, it was privatized.
This is the absolute key. This is how it lasted so long. When the control shifted to private aerospace contractors, the secrets became legally proprietary instead of just classified. Classified means the president, Congress, they have oversight. Proprietary means it's a company's trade secret. It's protected by contract law. It's effectively beyond the reach of, well, almost anyone in the official government.
Which explains that unbelievable story about Vice Admiral Thomas R. Wilson.
It's the ultimate proof of the firewall. Wilson was the chief of intelligence for the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He's supposed to know everything. And he was formally denied access to one of these special access programs by the program's own lawyer. He told him he didn't have the need to know.
Unbelievable.
It shows that this breakaway group is playing by its own rules, completely outside the elected chain of command.
And they didn't just hide the technology, they actively weaponized denial. They managed public opinion through what the sources call choke points.
Oh, absolutely. The CIA admitted it had relationships with hundreds of journalists to plant stories or, kill stories they didn't like. But the weirdest example is probably the leading UFO debunker of the time, the Harvard astronomer Dr. Donald Menzel.
Right. He was listed in the alleged MJ-12 documents, which made no sense. He spent his entire public life debunking UFOs.
It made no sense until researchers discovered his secret life. Menzel was also a world-class cryptographer for the NSA and the CIA. He had a top-secret ultra-clearance. His public job as a famous scientific debunker was the perfect cover for his intelligence work. He could smash the subject's credibility in public while serving the secret keepers behind the scenes.
That just makes what Dr. J. Allen Hynek said at the end of his life even more tragic. The guy from Project Blue Book who coined Close Encounter, near death, he just asked, why can't they tell me, even now?
A whole lifetime of denial. The architecture was built to be inescapable.
Okay, let's pivot to the reason for all that secrecy, the capabilities of the others. When you look at the consistent reports, you see a technology gap that just completely justifies the military's alarm.
The capabilities just defy conventional physics. We're talking about craft that can hover with no sound, accelerate instantly, go from the sky to deep under the ocean with no problem, and they seem to be able to manage space-time itself. This isn't just a better jet engine. It's a different kind of science.
And they haven't just been watching, they've intervened.
They have, and for the military, the scariest thing they've done is show control over our nukes. The most famous incident is at Malmstrom Air Force Base in 1967, where they verifiably disarmed nuclear missiles in their silos. And you have the 1976 incident in Iran, where a craft just toyed with their most advanced fighter jets. They own the high ground.
So who are they? The sources lay out 4 big hypotheses. Let's start with the classic one. The extraterrestrial hypothesis, the ETH.
ETH is still the odds-on favorite, beings physically traveling from other star systems. But the insane distances involved make some analysts look at other ideas, like intelligent machines. This is the theory that the classic grays are sort of biological drones. Gender neutral, no sex organs, perfect for mechanical work or collecting biological samples without all the messy needs that we have.
Then you get the really wild one, the Earth-based entities theory, the Atlantis theory.
This one is mind-bending. It suggests a high-tech branch of ancient humanity had some kind of cataclysm maybe 12,000 years ago and went into hiding. Deep ocean bases, underground cities, something like that. And now they pass themselves off as gods or aliens. This theory also sort of neatly explains the reports of human-looking beings, the so-called Nordics. Maybe they're just another human lineage.
And the last one just shatters our whole concept of reality, the ultra-dimensional entities.
Yeah, if they're ultra-dimensional, they're not millions of miles away. They're right here, coexisting with us in a parallel reality,
Right.
separated by some kind of barrier. Their travel is just them crossing that barrier. What's interesting is that the simplest explanation, linear space travel, is so hard it pushes scientists to these much stranger, deeper ideas.
But no matter where they're from, the real question is, what do they want? And the debate is split right down the middle between optimists and skeptics.
The contact optimists, people like Dr. Greer, they argue that any species with that level of technology that hasn't already wiped us out must be benign. They believe they've reached a higher ethical plane and are here to help.
But the skeptics, they have a much colder take.
They really push back on that idea that tech equals ethics. I mean, they point to the Nazis. Great technology, morally bankrupt. They worry the arting. Others might just be neutral observers, or worse, what Stephen Hawking warned about. Resource travelers, like explorers who show up, take whatever they need, minerals, genetic material, anything, and don't really care what happens to the locals.
Let's talk about the blowback, the great panic of year one. This is going to be driven by more than just philosophy. It's economic terror.
The economic tsunami is expected to be severe. This is the ultimate black swan event. Analysts think 20 to 40% of stockholders will try to dump their portfolios at once. The market circuit breakers will just be triggering constantly. But it's not just Wall Street. On the ground, basic supply chains will just sag. You'll have delivery drivers having breakdowns or getting looted. You'll get shortages of everyday items, which fuels more fear, more hoarding. It's a vicious cycle.
And the biggest, most permanent disruption will be to the engine of our civilization, energy.
Yes, the oil industry.
Yeah.
Largest industry in the world. We're talking tens of trillions of dollars. The second it's confirmed that these craft use something like gravity negation or zero-point energy, the entire global oil infrastructure becomes worthless.
Can you just quickly explain zero-point energy? It sounds like pure sci-fi.
It does, but it's grounded in quantum mechanics. ZPE is the idea that you can pull usable energy from the quantum fluctuations of empty space itself. Basically, clean, limitless energy everywhere. Once that's proven to be real, petroleum is a museum piece.
And that's where the human political fight really kicks off.
Absolutely. The main political battle after disclosure won't be with the others. It'll be human against human. It'll be between the people who want to release this clean energy for the good of everyone and the power elite who will fight like hell to protect the trillions they have invested in the old system.
It also completely shatters our politics. The old left-right divide becomes meaningless.
Totally. You get new factions. The Aquarius Party, who see contact as this dawning of a new spiritual age. Then you've got the Armageddon group, a lot of doomsday thinkers who see the others as demons as the start of the final war. And then a more grounded group, the Earth First Party, who basically say, who cares about them? We need to solve our own problems first.
And the media. The media gets a brutal reality check.
The blowback will just singe the credibility of every major newsroom. All those journalists who used to play the X-Files theme music or use cartoon aliens to ridicule serious whistleblowers, decorated pilots, they're going to face this wave of shame for their total lack of curiosity, even while they're scrambling to cover the biggest story in history.
And that brings us to the most paranoid, most disturbing consequence, the idea of a fifth column.
This is the existential nightmare. If they're already here, and some of them look just like us, the Nordics, or hybrids, then the whole political landscape becomes this alien-hunting McCarthy era. Society just gets consumed by this question. Who among us has been an infiltrator all along, managing things from the inside? That fear could break society. Look, AD is going to be a teaching moment on a scale we can't even imagine. It's a paradigm shift, like Copernicus or Galileo. History books, science texts, religious doctrine. It all has to be rewritten. It will be the most painful, but maybe the most important educational exercise our species had ever had.
And as we move into that new world, we have to be very clear about who the real opponent might be. This breakaway group has probably reverse engineered these incredible technologies, free energy, anti-gravity, but they kept it secret to maintain control. The sources are pretty clear on that.
That's the whole ballgame going forward. The biggest political fight, AD, won't be against hostile aliens. It will be a fight against the human secret keepers, the ones who will try to control and monetize this breakthrough technology to maintain their power, their wealth, even in a world that's totally changed.
So if the biggest crisis after disclosure is that battle, the one to democratize limitless, clean energy for everyone, we have to ask you, which side of that fight would you be on?